think. Hold on, I'm figuring out the audio. Seeing if I'm even on. Apparently I am. Okay, I am. Okay. Okay, this is a random reaction. I'm gonna react to a video from Eric Peterson. The channel is called Planet Peterson. I've been watching his debates for a while. He's pretty cool. I'm a fan of his. Go ahead and subscribe to him if you want to. Alright, let's go.
Alright, so tonight's debate is supposed to be about which system is better for society, Christian nationalism versus secularism. But let's be honest about what's really on the table here. We're comparing two fundamentally different ways of answering one question. Who or what gets to decide what's right and wrong? The most common form of secular ethics would be secular humanism, which I'm fairly certain that Peterson here adheres to. And it gives a very confident...
I'm already getting into it, object. Who's right or wrong? The strongest... So, they're the strongest decides. That's... Even in Christian doctrine, the strong survive. Isn't it? I mean... Yeah. People don't get favor. God doesn't make people rich. As far as I know. As far as I know, God has never made anybody rich. Wait. Okay, I'm being stupid. Why did I say that? That's what I mean. God doesn't favor people. Everybody are on their own. That's what I mean by that. God doesn't favor individual people.
An answer about who gets to decide what's right versus wrong. We do. Human reason, value, consensus. Sounds nice, and it sounds enlightened, and it sounds progressive. But when you slow it down for half a second, you realize how ridiculous it becomes immediately. Because now the question becomes, which humans? The rational ones? The majority? The loudest voices? Or the ones with the power? We're being told the same species that lies, cheats, and manipulates and exploits, and throughout history has justified just about every atrocity that you can imagine, should be trusted as the final authority on what is or is not moral. That's not a solution. That's the problem, rebranded as a system. Humanism talks a lot about values, dignity, equality, democracy.
Didn't Christianity say convert or die? Isn't that what that saying is from? Christianity. And it was literally spread by the sword, along with a good amount of other religions. Definitely Islam. That was spread by the sword too. The people who could kill you get to make the decisions, I guess. That's how it was back then.
But here's what it doesn't give. It doesn't give us a reason to actually value those things at all. It just kind of assumes them, and then it asserts them. Because we prefer those, don't you know that? But it actually can't explain why anyone is obligated to follow them, especially when it's inconvenient. If morality comes from human judgment, then morality changes when human judgment changes. If morality
Well, empathy stops people from hurting others. I mean, for the most part, I mean, some people have a lot of empathy, some people don't have any empathy, some people have less empathy. And yeah, people with no empathy or less empathy commit more crimes. That makes sense.
comes from consensus, well, then the consensus can justify anything. Morality comes from what we collectively value, then someone else can simply value something different. Now you don't have any moral disagreement, you just have a power struggle. Here's the part that never gets said out loud. If you're
Which is what any relationship is. Anything you try, everything is a power struggle. It doesn't have to be. I mean, keep it up with your Joneses. That kind of stuff. Societal way of clout chasing. That's what we do. We don't have to, but it's what happens.
Your system can't tell me why I shouldn't pursue my own advantages at your expense. It actually can't give me a...
If you do that, I will react negatively towards you. Either by thwarting your plans, or if you are acting violent towards me, and I have to, I will kill you, unalive you, whatever, if I have to.
a reason that goes beyond preference or social pressure, then it hasn't actually grounded morality. It's just describing a temporary agreement. Now, for the sake of this debate, I'll actually just grant that Christianity's false, that we made it all up. But if that's the case, then Peterson can't blame God for the atrocities of the Bible he doesn't like, because God's a fantasy. All the bad stuff that these Christians did, well, it wasn't God's fault. It was humans who did this with their morality, which is inherent to them.
Based on something that isn't even real. That's the messed up part. That's what Christians have to deal with. Even though they don't. Yeah, they try not to, but I don't know.
These sound to me like dangerous creatures that need to be stopped immediately. They grape and murder and enslave each other, and you want to put these beasts in a democracy and let them vote? Brilliant fucking plan there. Now let's contrast that with the Christian framework. Christianity doesn't say we decide what's good, it says we don't. Moral authority is not located in human beings. It's above them. It's fixed. It does not change when public opinion changes. It doesn't bend when power...
But how is that enforced? Through some kind of authority. And that authority has an amount of power. Thus, you get into another power struggle. Each authority, each member of that authority is going to want to have more authority. So it's a power struggle.
Shifts, and it does not disappear when it becomes inconvenient. And that matters because human beings need constraints. Not suggestions, not evolving preferences, constraints, because left to ourselves, we don't just disagree. We dominate, we rationalize, we justify what benefits us. Now, my opponent will likely point to abuses done in the name of Christianity, and I won't deny that they exist. But here's the key point. A system with a higher standard allows you to say those actions were wrong, even when the people committing them thought they were right. A system grounded in human judgment doesn't give you that. It just gives you a different group of humans making different decisions.
Did he say whether the atrocities were wrong or right? I don't know. I don't think he did though, and I'm not gonna rewind it to find out.
So the choice tonight is not between religion and reason. It's between a system where flawed humans are the highest authority and a system that puts those same humans under a standard that they don't get to control. If you think human beings are wise enough, consistent enough, and selfless enough to be trusted with ultimate moral authority, then humanism might sound appealing. But if you think human beings are exactly what history shows them to be, capable of absolute destruction,
what needs to be proven right now is that the people were inspired by God. That's the claim, that the people who the Bible were inspired by God. Now, I want to see proof of that. You should be able to prove it. It's there. Yeah. You should be able to easily prove it.
of any kind of civilization that they get their hands on,
1 minute.
then building a society that limits human authority instead of glorifying it is not just preferable. It's actually necessary. This is why, even setting aside the questions of the ultimate truth, the Christian framework is still a stronger, more realistic, and better foundation for a society than humanism will ever be. With that, I'll see the rest of my time.
All righty, thank you so much. Now, Planet Peterson, you can start your opener right now.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out, hopefully, my opponent didn't make the case for Christianity at all. He just asserted that his beliefs come from like the ultimate source. That's not making the case. That's just claiming I'm right and I win because what I believe in is true because I say so. So, anyways, I'll make the case for secularism. Secular humanism is the idea that human reason, empathy, and scientific inquiry are the best tools we have for understanding the world and improving the human condition. This isn't some radical or untested philosophy. It's the foundation of the modern world that we live in. The core principles of secular humanism were shaped during the Enlightenment by thinkers like John Locke, David Hume, Montesquieu, and Voltaire, many of which actually believed in God. They argued that government should derive their authority from human consent, not from a divine mandate, and that moral truths can be discovered through reason, human nature, and shared experience. Those ideas gave rise to the political systems we now take for granted, such as democracy, individual rights, freedom of speech, and religious liberty. These aren't accidents. They're the direct result of a worldview that places human beings, not institutions, not traditions, not authority, at the center of moral concern. And I would argue a lot of thought went into this as well. At its heart, secular humanism is about human dignity. It starts from basic recognition that all people have the capacity to suffer, flourish, to think, and to make choices. So from that, it builds an ethical system grounded in empathy, reciprocity, and many other things. If I value my own well-being, I cannot logically deny yours as equally valid and valuable. This is a key tool that secularism uses that Christian nationalism doesn't, which is what we call reason. If the Christian nationalist wants to argue that reason is insufficient, then they have to appeal to reason to explain why. These principles allow diverse societies to function peacefully. It creates a shared moral framework that doesn't require agreement on religion, identity, or worldview. Christians have never flourished as they do under our current secular government, and nobody has ever killed or oppressed Christians more than other Christians in the name of Christianity, ironically. Another strength of secular humanism is that it's committed to reason and evidence. It recognizes that we are fallible and our intuitions can be wrong, and that the best way to correct ourselves and evolve with a changing world is through open inquiry and testing ideas and changing our mind and changing our systems if need be. Secular, well, I have some stuff about science, but, we're running short. Equally important to secular humanism's other commitments is pluralism. In a secular framework, people are free to believe what they want and worship how they want. Stillborn gets all of his religious liberty that he wants under my worldview. And all this comes with freedom and without coercion. This creates a society where ideas compete peacefully rather than through force. Christian nationalism has no way to permit religious freedom, even for other Christians. The only thing it can do is claim.
That's another good point. That my atheism has never been coercive. Christianity cannot say that at all.
Claim that whoever's advocating for it is that their denomination is the only true one, so anyone who isn't a member perhaps isn't even a Christian. And historically, that kind of framework has proven to be the most stable way to organize diverse populations, the secular humanist one, that is.
1 minute.
When the state remains neutral on matters of beliefs, it protects everyone, religious and non-religious alike, and it allows communities to coexist without one imposing itself on the other. Secular humanism also recognizes the importance of compassion at scale. While individual charity is valuable, modern societies require systems that ensure people aren't left behind, like access to healthcare, education, and basic security. You can find support for many of those things in the words of Jesus, but Christians underperform in every one of these categories and overwhelmingly align themselves politically with stances that maximize suffering for the poor and marginalized. And finally, secular humanism is forward-looking. It asks not just what is true, but what kind of world we want to build. It encourages us to reduce suffering where we can, expand opportunities, and use our growing knowledge to improve the lives of future generations. It does not claim perfection. It doesn't claim certainty. What it offers is something more practical, a framework that allows us to work together across differences using the best tools we have. And I had about 10 more words, but whatever. We'll end it there.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. And now, Steelborn, you're going to do a 5-minute rebuttal attack.
Okay, I'm gonna try something here. Let's stop that. Turn off. Turn off my Bluetooth. Oh. See if I can. Let's see if I can connect it here. Oh, it is? Now I can play it. Hold on.
Specifically against his position, and then after that, you're going to do the same. Peterson, Steelborn, you can start now.
Okay, so he says, well, I didn't give a justification for my system in my opening. Well, by his standard, I don't have to. I just prefer that. Right? And if enough people...
What?
prefer it, well, then that's what we can do, and it's totally fine. Secondly, I'm trying to read my own handwriting now. That sucks. It's hard to do. All right, so number 2, human dignity. So secular humanism affirms that all humans have dignity, except it can't tell me why. Because we look into if it's going just based off of our human reason, right, and our observations. Well, we can observe that humans aren't equal at fucking almost anything. None of them are equal with each other, right? Men aren't equal to women as far as as far as you could do with observation. Right? Some people are smarter, some people are dumber, some people are taller, some people are stronger, right? There's all kinds of inequalities throughout the world. So why should we affirm that everybody has universal human dignity?
Not what it meant.
Number 3, if I value, according to Peterson, if he values his life,
That's not what's meant by saying all the equal. That's not what's meant. He's being too semantical about it, in my opinion.
he couldn't logically justify denying the value of mine. But yes, you actually can. You can most definitely deny the value of somebody and be consistent in doing so. You can deny that somebody has just as much value as you when they're trying to, like, I don't know, the Seminole Warriors, maybe, like, the Cum Warriors, Papua New Guinea. I think we can deny, the same value from a political stance. Now I can actually affirm that since all humans have.
Wow, that was kind of funny. He fumbled around until he got something that kind of fit what he was trying to say, but he still looks like a complete idiot, in my opinion.
The Imago Dei, right? That would give an actual justification for universal human dignity. He doesn't have that. And if his system's also survival of the fittest, which it is, then there is no universal dignity. Whoever's the strongest is the one who's going to survive. Now, Christians killed a bunch of...
That's not what... Yeah. It's... In that aspect, Christianity and, I guess, secular humanism are kind of the same. I mean... no, not really. Because most humans have empathy, which stops them from hurting other people, in my opinion. I don't care what he said about it.
People. Sure, secularists have killed way more people than Christians ever have. Like it's not even comparable to the rate, right? We can go to the Bolshevik Revolution, where over 20 million Orthodox Christians were killed under the Bolsheviks. We can go to Mao Zedong's China, where they killed 80 million people. Right? Man. We can look into the Nazi Germany Revolution, right? And that time period, right? The 20th century was the bloodiest time period ever, and it's killed way more people than Christians. They've been plenty of people have done the math on this. It's not even close. Now, religious freedoms. I'm sorry. Why couldn't Protestants and Orthodox and Christians all live within the same nation, even under the Christian nationalist standard? Which
killed.
There's no contradiction.
You'd get fucking burnt at the stake if you didn't. Even Christians got burnt at the stake.
There, it's not. Christian nationalism doesn't entail a theocracy. And this idea that these Enlightenment values have clearly shown that they make the most stable society. Well, we don't know that they create the most stable society. We've only been doing it for like 200 years, right? The Byzantine Empire lasted for 1,000 years. The Roman Empire lasted for almost 1,000, if I remember correctly, right? The Mongolian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Persian Empire. There's all kinds of empires that lasted way longer than the United States. And this idea that Peterson has of, well, we'll just use our human intuition, right, to determine what's good and what's not. Well, if that's the case, if morality is inherent to the human condition, right, and we can determine what's moral through reason, well, then anything that the nationalists decide to do, well, they did it through reason, and so it was moral. You can't actually tell me it wasn't moral. They reasoned through the position, right? If the Nazis reasoned through their position, then it was moral because it's inherent to the human condition. There's no argument against this. If the Bolsheviks reasoned, then it was inherent to the human condition. The problem is reason doesn't tell me what you mean. You're not telling me what you mean by we can reason our way through it. And
1 minute.
Honestly, with that, I'll just see the rest of my rebuttal.
Alrighty. Peterson, you can start now.
Once again, he literally didn't explain what Christian nationalism even is, how it works, or why we should do it. He has, I mean, good thing we have cross-examination because I have literally not heard a case at all. So I just wrote down notes here. There's a second rebuttal, isn't there?
There's going to be open dialogue and cross-examination. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'll just say what I wrote down from my notes then. So my opponent claimed, he said that I talked about human dignity, and then he said all I claim that all humans have dignity, but he tells me that I can't explain why. I don't know why my opponent doesn't think that his system can do, or I don't know why my opponent thinks his system can do this. Christianity can't tell anybody why any of its beliefs are true. It can assert them, but Christians, there are thousands of denominations of Christianity, and they have completely contradictory views. They have a lot of beliefs in common, but they have other contradictory views. So which one is true? According to Christianity, Christianity is false because the denominations declare the other denominations are not true. And again, how are we deriving that we ought to believe any of that thing? No matter what system you're going to try to form, people have to come together to form beliefs, regardless of what level the system is or what you're even trying to accomplish. That point was, there's no need to really talk about that. My opponent claimed that my position is survival of the fittest. I don't know why he said that. I believe in evolution, but secular humanism is not survival, is not an evolutionary world. View, and it certainly isn't survival of the fittest. I talked about a bunch of woke talking points like taking care of the dispossessed, the downtrodden, and the marginalized in our society in my opening statement. So that's obviously not survival of the fittest. Nothing I said could be even remotely compared to that. But if you take the 5 seconds it takes to understand evolution, then you would understand that humans are a cooperative species. So the biggest human beating up all the weaker humans is literally contradictory to what our evolved human nature actually is and how it works. The claim that secularists have killed more people than Christians, pretty wild to make that claim. Let me give just one example. The 30 Years' War in Germany, that was in the 17th century. Somewhere between 30 to 40% of Germany died in that conflict. And it was Protestants versus Catholics. This is Christians going to war against other Christians. And that's one example. There have been many, many, many other examples of these kinds of inter-Christianity wars. And at no point, at no country or region in World War II, did you see upwards of 30 to 40% of the population die. Now, it is true that in terms of absolute numbers, there were more people alive in the 20th century. So the sheer number of people that died may be about equivalent to the totality of deaths in Christian religious wars. But you have to think in terms of magnitude. When in past conflict, we know this for a fact. It's been archaeologically and anthropologically studied. The percentage of people that died in violent conflict and wars hundreds of years ago was vastly greater than the percent of populations that died even during World War I and World War II. These are just absolute facts. So this claim is completely false. Yes, my opponent said that I made the case that religious liberty is it's currently granted under the secular government we live in, but it would be precarious if we switch to Christian nationalism. My opponent said, well, why wouldn't this be the case? It literally wasn't the case. Early on in this country's history, Protestants and Catholics banned each other from even holding political office. There were religious tests. So I know it couldn't, or there's a very good case to make that that would be the case, because we know it's literally happened before. So thank God for the First Amendment. And my opponent at the end there said that reason doesn't tell him anything. So it would be fascinating for my opponent to justify that claim without using reason, which is impossible.
All righty. Thank you for that. Now, whoops, wrong one. Sorry about that. Now we go to the next section. The fun section is cross-examination.
Wait,
Okay?
Jimmy, we're supposed to have a time in between. You're
wait.
rushing,
Hold on
brother.
a second. I got to stop rushing. Hey, great round, you guys. We're going to take a 1-minute break right now. You guys can take a drink of water, not go to the bathroom, though. Tony, what do you think so far? I mean, they're really not at each other's throat at all here.
Well, we're gonna have a round where it's no holds barred, correct? So they could just freaking yell at each other because that's what everybody's here for, right? Blood sports. They just want to see their guy hurt another man.
That's right. Pain and defeat and watching someone else suffer. So you
an audience surrogate. This is my guy.
Right.
He destroyed the other guy.
That's
that
right.
means I'm correct. Our team wins.
Yeah,
Is this the WWE?
like something masculine, unlike hockey. So round 2 is going to be 15-minute cross exams for you guys. You guys could ask questions to the interlocutors that we're going to save in super chat form at the end. There's going to be a spot there. There's going to be no panel, no wasted time on a bunch of random people who happen to have a computer and a camera. Okay? No.
Wait, what did you say?
Okay. With that said, we should probably get back into the debate, Tony. We're going to do 15-minute cross exams, and that's going to start now. Steelborn, you have 15 minutes to exam Planet Peterson. You pester him, you pester each other. You don't hold up. Go.
Examination.
Yeah, so let's start. We can start with the 30 Years' War if you want for a sec. So just something that you said in your rebuttal. I think it's fair to respond. You're right. It was about 20 to 40% of the population is what the estimation was. Do you know what the actual total was?
Somewhere between 5 and 8 million.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm seeing here too as well, and that seems to be the consensus. How about the Bolshevik Revolution?
Yeah, so I went over this. It's in terms of magnitude. If there had been more people alive in the 1700s, then the sheer number of people that would have died would have been bigger. You can't make the argument that you can't just compare absolute numbers, because if a village of 1,000 people, every single one of them dies, that's a greater tragedy than in a city of 1 million people, 1,001 people dies.
Why is that a greater tragedy?
Because one number is bigger. The magnitude of the numbers tells you why.
That doesn't tell me. Just because, okay, let's say like a village gets to like a village like
extremely basic logic.
No,
It's more devastating. Yes, exactly.
not basic. Is you're just telling me it's worse if the 1,000 people die than if the 1,001 people die.
Yes. Okay. So would you argue that dogs are more dangerous than sharks? Because I sure as hell wouldn't.
Yeah, it would be dependent. So like if as far as like which one are you more likely to to get attacked by? I would say you're more likely to get attacked by a dog than a shark.
Yes, but sharks are clearly more deadly and more dangerous, right? So there are very few shark attacks, but it's a much more dangerous and deadly creature. These religious wars of the past killed vastly greater proportions of the population. The horrors of the 20th century are some of the worst that ever happened. And the raw numbers are bigger, but the proportions are not. So statistically, you were less likely to die in war in the 20th century than the 17th century. That's just a fact.
Absolutely.
I can even grant that you would be statistically less likely to die, but it's ultimately it's the point of what is the war being fought over, right? Like I think that's more relevant as well here. So like the Bolshevik Revolution killed around 7 to 12 million is what it says. There are other estimates that are higher. Do you know who the Bolsheviks mainly killed and targeted?
No, not really. I know
Mostly Orthodox Christians. They killed about 10 to 15 million Orthodox Christians, including over 100,000 clergy.
Yeah, that's horrible. I
over
condemn
100,000 clergy.
Yes,
what system
that's
were they
terrible.
using, Peter?
The French
What system were
Revolution
they using?
beheaded nuns. It's terrible things.
Yeah,
I
but what
don't
system
support
were
any
they
of them.
using, Peterson?
Certainly not secular humanism. If you're
secularists.
that's not what secular
fascism.
humanism
Hold on,
is.
Are you gonna lay the deaths of the atrocities of every single Christian denomination at my feet, but I can't lay the deaths the deaths caused by any secularists or any group of secularists at your feet? Then why don't you keep it to my
people don't say, God doesn't exist, now die. C.S. Stu. God does exist, and you're gonna die.
Denomination, and I'll keep it to your specific group.
Do you seriously think that what the Bolsheviks were doing was saying, oh, scientifically, and by we're going to use science and empathy and human reason you think those were the tools that they used to kill them?
Peterson?
No.
What is human reason? What is human reason? Just reasoning, like inductive reasoning?
I don't know the definition of any words. I just know how to use them in sentences.
You just know how to use them in sentences. You can't even tell me what the thing that you're appealing to
No,
means.
because I'm not doing leading questions. You're here to defend your worldview.
It's a cross exam.
Yep. I don't know the definition of any word. Sorry.
So you don't know what it means to be good?
Nope. I can describe it to you. I can describe how it makes me feel.
So you can't actually tell me what any of these words mean.
I can tell you how they relate to each other.
Listen to you?
Because my system uses reason.
Yeah, that's what's in question here.
Okay.
So you're literally,
reason is a. I'll be more good faith for you. Reason is just the formal description of what we call the way our brains work, using logical thinking. Even to be a Christian, you have to do that.
So inductive and deductive reasoning, is that what you're talking about when you say reason?
Any kind of reason. The same process you use to decide to believe in Christianity, yes.
Does it have to be a good reason?
Anybody can do reason, or like what does this mean? I don't understand the question.
Me neither. I'm trying to figure it out.
Does it have to be a good reason?
In order to determine if something's moral or immoral, right? Does it have to? Do we have to, like he says, we're going to do this by using reasoning? Does the reasoning have to be good? Does it have to be good reasoning? Because the problem, if
I don't know what you mean by good. I don't know if you mean morally good or good as in the quality of it.
As in, like it's like consistent and it's coherent.
If your logic leads you to make decisions that contradict whatever system you set up, then that's not good reasoning.
No,
you can logically decide that you're gonna kill people, but it's not good or logical at all.
I agree with this. So it has to be consistent. So our reasoning has to be consistent for our ethics.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So if the system let's say the system I come up with is like, I don't know, Christian authoritarian humanism per se, right? And I just decide, you know what? Yeah, I know. I just wanted to make that little joke, but no. Let's say I decide in my system, right, that we're gonna lock up we're just gonna abandon Christianity for a sec, right? I'm a secularist, So through my secular humanism, it comes to my attention that I can, let's say I do polling and everything, and I can absolutely demonstrate that the majority of the population, they find the gays icky. They don't like the gays, right? It makes them uncomfortable, and it doesn't lead to human flourishing. So we're gonna lock them all up, right? We're gonna lock them all up in cages, and that actually leads to human flourishing because the rest of the society, their happiness goes up. Why would that be immoral from your system?
Well, for me, we'd have to prove that they're gays. As a group, every single one of them has to have done. You have to prove that they have done something morally wrong, or that they are being destructive in some way. For me, yeah, that's why it would be wrong, because gay people being gay doesn't hurt anybody. Yeah, people are offended by it, but it's not wrong. It doesn't hurt anybody at all.
There's no logical consistency in that.
What's the contradiction?
Would any of those people that are doing those actions like to be locked up? themselves? No. So what's the logical pathway to it's okay for I need to be able to answer your question. There is no logical pathway you can get to from it's okay for me to terrorize and oppress and harm people, but it's not okay when anybody else does it to me. This is kind of the core of virtue ethics.
Okay, so
a version of it.
Okay, so because I value me, therefore I have to value you, even though I could come up with a totally consistent system of I don't have to value you. You're part of the out group. I don't have to value you, and I can make that system totally consistent. So I don't understand the entailment of just because I don't like it, that means therefore it's bad.
Because
it's been done before, and it's not good. It's come out with horrible outcomes. You just do the research and you'll figure it out.
That's a stupid system. That's a stupid system. Like, I don't like spicy food. Does that make spicy food bad, like immoral? No.
No. So you have to try to understand, is this person able to logically analyze the value of a human being? If they're going to look at themselves, because you take two humans on the planet, like they're going to be different height, different weights, whatever. But that doesn't set the value of what a person is. That doesn't set the ability to judge like what is and what is not a good person. So if you can look at somebody and they're indistinguishable from you, except they just happen, like let's take identical twins. You have two identical twins. One is, I don't know, we'll use your example. One's gay and one is straight. Every single other thing about them is identical. So an impartial observer would look at them and they'd say, they're virtually indistinguishable, as if this one thing about them is like the difference between their value. An impartial observer wouldn't be able to make that leap. So when one of them judges the other, as being somehow uniquely
in the homosexual community, therefore they are a greater risk to the general population at spreading disease. So we're going to lock them up to protect, to make sure that everybody else is well, and that's good.
When one person looks at the other and judges them, although they're just quantitatively.
Those diseases, I think he's talking about AIDS. Let's face it, I think he's talking about AIDS. And he didn't come out and say it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it means. No, AIDS would have come around anyway. Straight people got AIDS too, so... yeah.
Quantitatively, whatever, virtually indistinguishable from them, then they should pass the same judgment on themselves.
Why?
But
why
they don't do that. Because otherwise they would be logically inconsistent.
And why ought we?
That would be a question that I would have. Do straight people get AIDS? Or do straight people get the sexually transmitted diseases that gay people get?
We be consistent?
So
is
again,
there
if you're
to logic,
yeah.
So from your view, how is logic normative?
How is logic normative?
Logic is social construction.
If you set up a framework that is supposed to follow like a set of principles or rules or whatever, but then you inconsistently apply it, you make what's the word? You make conclusions that are inconsistent because you make the same value judgments through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But then at the end, you just say, nah, one's completely different than the other. Then you're being logically inconsistent. So that's a normative violation. At least I think it is.
Okay, so I would agree with you. It's illogical. Why is it bad? Why is it bad to be inconsistent? Right? Like you're just telling me it's illogical. Okay, great. We can assume it's illogical. And I'll just give you granted if you're contradicting yourself, you're illogical. Why is that bad?
That is the reason. You can't. You can't possibly claim that my system literally contradicts itself. It couldn't possibly be true. It couldn't possibly have any value. If you think moral truth exists, but you're violating your own framework, then your system isn't true.
Do people who believe in Christianity, do you think that brings value to them?
Are you asking me if I think it makes them valuable, or if they derive value from it?
They find value in it. The Christians.
Does the Christian feel valuable when he believes what he believes? Yes. But I'm not sure where he's going here, but yes. Okay. That doesn't mean everybody would if they did it too. Yeah, maybe I stopped it too soon.
Yeah, anybody can find personal value in
Okay,
stuff.
so the Christians find value in being a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't believe that Christianity is true, correct?
That doesn't mean that he thinks that Christians should be forced to not believe. Same with me. Christians can believe whatever they want to believe. I don't care. Christians do not feel that way.
That is correct.
So, the Christians are believing in a bunch of false stuff, and it brings them value. So now, being consistent from your view doesn't mean that from your standard was you have to be consistent in order. You said you have to be consistent in order for it to be true. That seems fair to me. But if you think that Christians are inconsistent, right, and like we're contradicting ourselves, but we find value in that. Why is what you find value in better than what we find value in?
That's all over the place. So I didn't say that just because somebody believes in something that's false, that there's no value to it. What I was saying is, if your system produces all these logical inconsistencies, where to make conclusions you have to violate your own logical system and hold cognitive dissonance, then that's where it becomes quote unquote bad. I mean, the economy is completely fake. Money only has value insofar as we say what the value of a dollar is.
Yeah, I agree.
Every single person believes in it. The economy is totally fake, but it works and it's really valuable.
Yeah, you can have effects from social constructions. I wouldn't disagree with that. But so hold on. So if your system makes contradictions, then you shouldn't follow it, right?
Well, you should reevaluate it. Any system, I think, can be reevaluated and fixed. You don't need to just completely throw the whole thing out.
All right, you're a naturalist, right?
Yeah, that probably describes me pretty well.
Okay, would you also call yourself an empiricist? And all our knowledge is derived through sense data?
Effectively, yeah.
Okay, where is that sentence found? Where is that proposition found in the sense data?
What proposition?
That all knowledge is derived through sense data. Where do I find that in the sense data?
That is a description of the way things are. Claims don't, propositions don't exist in the universe. We make them to describe the universe.
So propositions don't exist?
No.
Then the proposition if propositions don't exist, then the proposition of Christian nationalism bad doesn't exist. And for bad, does bad or good exist? No, they're propositions from your view. So you can't actually tell me that it's fucking bad to be a Christian nationalist because it doesn't actually exist. No part of it exists because it's just a proposition.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to argue the ontological status of these claims, that's almost interesting. But what we're trying to do here is determine what kind of world we want to live in, and the whether or not it really exists has no bearing over whether or not it would be better or worse for society.
Okay, great. I agree with you then. So whether or not it's better for society.
Well, then why did you waste everybody's time?
So do the Christians, so hold on. So you think that the Christians committed all these atrocities, right? Like they killed all these people.
Well,
right?
you and I both know that happened. Yeah.
Okay, so we agree that that's the case, right?
Yeah.
But if there's no God, then they came to that position through their own human reasoning, right? They reasoned to that position, right? And as long as they used reason, then it was good. They didn't reason it out. They just did it arbitrarily.
Because Christianity is arbitrary, and they appeal to faith, not reason.
That was the appeal for the 30-year war entirely. Was just faith.
The reason that you declare your particular denomination is ultimately true, and that whatever Catholicism is false, is going to be faith. You will not be able to use reason.
No, it wouldn't be faith. You could most definitely use reason to determine, for example, that the Protestants don't have apostolic succession. Like you would agree that there's actually entailments to being a Christian, right? Like I can't be like I'm a Christian who worships Buddha and curb stomps toddlers for Satan. I wouldn't be able to call myself a Christian at that point, right?
Well, I have no idea what a Christian is according to you.
Oh, you want my view? Oh, orthodoxy.
Well, that doesn't actually tell me anything. This is your cross exam, though.
The Eastern Orthodox Church, that doesn't tell you anything? Okay.
No.
So remember, guys, and throughout the cross exam, propositions don't exist. So to say that Christian nationalism bad, well, that can't be true. It doesn't exist.
Time.
No, we don't find it in the sense data.
Literally.
All right, Peterson, you ready for your cross examination?
Well, okay, go.
And sorry, Tony. Was that? Did you?
I say a hi.
Hey, Tony.
All right, bye.
All right, great work. All right, so Peterson, your 15 minutes starts now.
Yeah. So to make the point I was making just at the end there. So let's say that I'm a hypothetical person. I get an abortion every single year, and I'm Eastern Orthodox. So does that work?
No, that's not even possible.
Okay, so when I said that your claim that I'm Eastern Orthodox, that doesn't tell me anything. That would be why. So what is a Christian?
So for my view, so do you want? I would make this distinction. Here's the distinction I make: lowercase c and uppercase c, right? Like. So lowercase c Christians, that would be the people who identify with the following of the teachings of Jesus Christ and trying to keep his commands. Like uppercase Christians, I would say those who are a part of the body of the church. And you can make, there's plenty of arguments and proofs that the Orthodox Church is the church that was founded by the apostles and continued.
Okay. Can a Christian go to hell?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. There are different denominations that don't feel that way. So I need to know like who I'm talking to, because that greatly changes the way I would ask questions.
I wouldn't say salvation's guaranteed for being a Christian at all.
Okay, cool. I like that. I prefer that. So what kind of Christian nationalism are you advocating for? A theonomy where we derive our nation's laws directly from the Bible, or a kind of populism where we have like a state church, we're culturally Christian, we make the assertion that we're a Christian nation? What are you actually?
I would say I align more with the populist type, where it's like I want the ethics and the culture to be shaped by Christianity, because I think ultimately the culture and the ethics of your culture, like, so you have politics is downstream from culture, and culture is downstream from your culture's theology, whatever that theology is, right?
Sure.
So that's why I would say like I wouldn't force the theology though. Like I wouldn't say like we're gonna force convert people.
Okay. Yeah, because in 2 Corinthians, or as Trump would say, 2 Corinthians, Paul says Christianity should be spread by faith, righteousness, and arguments, and not by force. So you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah.
Okay. There's lots of different versions of Christian nationalism, so I'm trying to figure out where you're coming from. So I ask you fair questions. So let me figure out. I have some written down, so I'm jumping around here. So do you think that we have a secular constitution?
Absolutely.
Okay. So do you think that if basically everyone in the country was an observing Christian, but we kept the Constitution the way it is, that that would be Christian nationalism?
Repeat the question. I just want to make sure I heard it right.
Do you think that if virtually everybody in the country was an observing, practicing Christian, but our Constitution didn't change, we would still be, that would technically be Christian nationalism?
I'm not sure that it would technically be Christian nationalism, but it'd be a move in that direction. Like it wouldn't. It's not the goal of Christian nationalism, but like it's a movement in that direction.
Okay, so now that I kind of understand where you're coming from, to me, I don't think being a Christian has anything to do with what kind of government you live under. So I'm curious as to in what sense Christian nationalism is Christian.
So Christian nationalism is the push of trying to shape the culture, right? And trying to engage with culture and show how the ethics of Christianity are superior to every other ethical system, right? And that like the laws of our society should be based, or like should be built upon Christian ethics. It's the ideal ethical system to build a nation from.
But what does that have to do with being a Christian? because Christianity, it doesn't compel anyone to believe in or do anything. It compels you as a Christian. So in what sense is changing the nation to become a Christian nationalist nation, in what sense is that actually Christian?
So there's nothing inconsistent about the Christians wanting to make their nation more Christian, right? But like, I wouldn't say nationalism, like there's no political system that's really an ought from the Christian view. Like there's not like a specific political system that's like required to be a Christian. Now there are some that are obviously better than others. Like for example, you can't be a Christian and you can't be an Orthodox and a communist. It's like you'll be excommunicated from the church. So the view is not that like I have a moral obligation to push a political system. It's I have a moral obligation to attempt to try and change the culture around me to be more Christ-like, to follow the teachings of the church.
Okay, so let me pose. This is going to sound kind of weird, but so I'm going to assume that what you think should change in this country is going to be things like maybe banning abortion, maybe not letting women vote, maybe banning gay marriage, stuff like that. Am I correct? Tell me if any of that's wrong.
What was the last point? I just want to make sure I heard it.
Not allowing gay marriage, not recognizing.
I thought it was women voting is what you said.
That was the middle one.
Oh, I had it backwards. I wouldn't. There's no entailment that women can't vote from the Christian nationalist view, but
okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
And then so the gay marriage thing, like, I'm not saying that we have to imprison the homosexuals. I would actually advocate against just imprisoning them for it, but I would want marriage to be taken out of the hands of the state and moved back into the hands of the church, because marriage is ultimately a sacrament.
Okay, so what about like traditional family values? Like there should be fewer women in the workforce. We're better off women being homemakers.
Well, yeah, and there's great arguments for that. The main one being that if you reduce the amount, do you agree that if you were to reduce the amount of workers, then the demand for workers would go up, so their wages would go up?
That's possible. Elizabeth Warren, funny enough, has made that argument. She has a book called The Two Income Trap. So here's why I'm bringing all of this up. In the Islamic world, they don't allow gay marriage in any major Islamic country. There isn't a single major Islamic country that allows for abortion, as far as I know. If they do, it's extremely restrictive. And women are vastly, as a proportion, out of the workforce and education. In some countries, it's even illegal for women to get an education. So obviously, they're not Christians, but it sounds like they're espousing the values of Christian nationalism pretty strongly.
No. So from the Christian nationalist view, there's no entailment. In fact, we wouldn't actually say women can't get educated, for one. Number two, it's true that the Islamic countries don't allow for abortion, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but Iran is actually the capital of the world for transgender surgeries, which would be one thing that Christians would definitely want to get rid of.
If I've never heard that about Iran, maybe it's the case, but there's a lot of other Islamic countries that are not doing that. So if we just take a few issues like gay marriage and abortion and a few other things, it sounds like they're doing a lot of the things that you would recognize that Christian nationalism is intended to do, right?
So there could be certain goals that we could be aligned on, but ultimately we couldn't. Like, Islam and Christianity is not compatible.
Yes, I know. So this is why I'm saying, if Christian nationalism is just the policy things you want to accomplish, then it's indistinguishable from these Islamic countries. So they're doing Christian nationalism. Now, even I think that that's obviously they're not doing Christian nationalism. But what's the only difference is their faith. So if they end up policy-wise in broadly the exact same place, yet it's a completely different religion, this demonstrates to me I still have no idea in what sense Christian nationalism is even Christian, because the Muslims are doing all the stuff you guys want to do. So what's actually Christian about it?
I'm sorry, is the Muslim allowed to beat his 4 wives?
Maybe in some places.
And are Muslims allowed to marry multiple women?
Yeah, probably in some places.
Are Muslims allowed to marry? Are Muslims allowed to practice first cousin marriage?
I didn't say that they're one-to-one the same.
Well, I'm asking because you're talking about the marriage reform stuff, right? Like,
okay,
we want to do marriage reform. They have the marriage reform.
I got to reclaim my time. You're actually not supposed to ask questions to me.
That's fair.
So
that's right.
I just want an answer.
Back.
I just want an answer to my question. They're doing, they do stuff that's different, but broadly with a lot of big picture issues, they're doing exactly the same thing.
No, they're not. They're not. They have one alignment on the marriage of like they don't allow gays to get married
and abortion.
And abortion
and traditional households.
Marriage. No, not traditional households.
Women.
They're not. They don't have traditional households.
Okay. Well, if you're going to make the distinction, because in some of those places they're doing a lot of polygamy, then okay.
That's one, the polygamy, and then the other one. We don't advocate for beating women. And we don't advocate for locking them up or forcing them to stay in the house.
In the United States, there were no laws for marital rape until 1977. So I'm glad that it
wasn't categorized as the same thing, but that's you're just equivocating. It was considered assault. And it was just you were given the same punishment for that. But also it was still just as hard to prove then as it is now.
Okay. I'm going to have to move on to some of my other questions. So you currently have the right to observe your religion under our secular constitution. So how does Christian nationalism preserve and protect that right?
Well, for one, I don't believe in rights, and two, why do we have to though? Why do we have to allow a bunch of Muslims to practice in our
stop
nation?
asking me questions. How does Christian
nationalism? And we don't care that it doesn't.
You're bringing up Muslims. I didn't say Muslims. I said, how does Christian nationalism protect the rights of Christians?
In what sense?
You know that we used to have religious tests, and Protestants and Catholics prevented members of the opposite group from holding public office and I think voting and some other things. So I'm just asking you, how does your system work?
So I would move this back to the way we had it at our founding, which is that we actually used to have this. These states could actually have their own denominations post ratification of the Constitution. Right, they were like the states had their own state religions, most of them, not all of them. I think like 2 of them didn't.
So, okay. So how does
like for example, Louisiana? Let's say Louisiana becomes like they're a Lutheran state. Mm-hmm. They don't have to allow the Presbyterians or the Baptists. They don't have to allow them to vote or to hold office in their state because they're not a Lutheran. The problem with this is what?
And that's good. Do you want this? Hypothetically means wherever you live, don't dox yourself. But you are now setting up the potential for wherever you live, your denomination now excludes you from being able to participate in government, which is the way we structure our lives. So you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of universal suffrage. I think it's a ridiculous idea.
So do you think that so you're totally fine with Orthodox people not having suffrage?
If the state was Catholic, sure.
That's a kind of a wild admission, I guess. Why is that?
Because I think that universal suffrage is a terrible idea.
Do you want to be oppressed? Do you want to have your rights taken away?
Well, no, I don't want to have my rights. Well, it depends on what you mean. I don't think rights actually exist, right? So the only thing I care about is am I prevented?
Neither do I. Money doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean that I would be okay if somebody drained all of the ones and zeros from my bank account.
Well, yes, but that's a different thing. It's a different concept, right? Money is the way in which we barter because, we have to have a universal standard, or there has to be a universal standard for how we trade when, like, let's say you make the boots and I make the hammers, right? And you don't want a hammer, but I want a pair of boots.